All right, so welcome Terry Steimer to our expert interviews on Green Beverly channel on YouTube. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
All right, we're going to lay it down about sustainable gardening and pollinators and all the good things. So I would love to hear, why don't we start from the simple stuff? What exactly is sustainable gardening? Why should we care about it?
Sure, we should very much care about it. Sustainable gardening is the concept of using garden practices that cause zero harm to our lovely planet. And so it's working in harmony with our planet. And that's it. Just do no harm. It's pretty simple rule.
Okay, so I would love to hear a couple examples of that. Maybe start with one that's not sustainable and then, show us what is.
Pesticides. Pesticides are killing bees, killing our crops. It's there are so many organic alternative ways to controlling insect population. Not that you want to control them. That's what our birds eat. And so, yeah, there are many things that a homeowner can do. I usually save that to the end, but if you'd like to.
Well, we'll go there. I'm just curious,
But it's 100% stop using chemicals in your landscape. Like, that's not even a question. Like, how anybody ever thought this was a good idea. It's not. It's horrible. Stop buying things from big box stores, flowers that can contain neonicotinoids. We call them neonics. That's because they're full of nicotine and they're killing our bees and at a rapid pace. And so you'll see when you go to the big box stores, it will say this contains neonicotinoids. Don't buy it. Go to your local garden center. Pretty simple.
Why on earth would they do that to plants?
Well, because it's corporates. And it's corporations. So when they're planting everything, it's about yielding the biggest crop. Okay. So they could make the most amount of money, but not even slightly considering the harm they're doing to the environment and the population.
So then let's talk about those bees.
Okay.
How would you define a pollinator garden and why do they matter?
Pollinator gardens matter. It's so funny. I give talks on this all the time. But pollinator gardens matter most because it's where our birds, bats, bees, butterflies go to eat. And they go and they eat that delicious nectar and pollen. And what people don't realize is that it's 1 out of 3 bites of our food comes from pollination. So if we kill our bees with the neonics and the pesticides, and we're just not giving them a home and they stop existing, we can no longer produce coffee. We can no longer produce cocoa. We can no longer produce nuts and fruits and vegetables. So when people see it, and this is what I wrestle with on a day-to-day basis with my clients, it's all about the aesthetics, and we have to have the perfect lawn. I am a landscape designer. This is my business. But at the same time, it's hard to get a homeowner to want to then take a quarter of their lawn, their luscious, precious green lawn, and let it just run wild and make it into a meadow. And so when you just have just polite conversations with them and you just kind of let them know where things are at and how much it would be helping the environment, for the most part, they're okay. But native plants and letting everything grow wild, I get it. Not every homeowner wants that. They don't want their lawn to look like a meadow. In a perfect world, it would. I don't know why. I'll give you another statistic, which is insane. Americans apply 30,000 tons of pesticides each year to keep their grass green. Another thing about the grass, most turf grass is native to Europe, including Kentucky bluegrass, and are poorly adapted to our soils, especially the acidic soils of New England, which means they must be kept on life support with irrigation, fertilizer, herbicides, and pesticides. Why?
Are you saying that Kentucky, what is it? The Kentucky
Kentucky
green grass?
bluegrass.
Bluegrass.
Yeah,
That is native to Europe?
yes.
Okay.
Most turf grass is native to Europe, including Kentucky bluegrass.
So it
Yes,
would do fine in Europe without all that stuff.
right.
But here,
But here with the herbicides, one of my favorite things when I talk about gardens and the amount of time that people spend watering their gardens, and they'll have that sprinkler going for 4 hours or even for 2 hours, it's the equivalent of you being really, really thirsty and somebody walking by and just throwing a glass of water in your face and walking away. It wets you, but it does nothing to get into the roots. But we're talking about radically changing the way suburban America is. And they love their lawns and they want everything to be pristine and they don't want native. So it's a challenge as a designer because I too feel like that. I want things to look beautiful. And now I'm realizing the more I use native plants that actually belong here, the aesthetic maybe isn't as beautiful, but now who cares? It's choosing the earth and saving your planet and the future of your planet over making everything so pristine, cookie cutter, everything's beautiful.
yeah, and there's, I mean, aesthetic is also a matter of opinion. For some reason,
Yeah,
we just have it in our brains that a swath of green like that is the best thing ever. And yes,
yeah,
it is pleasing, but I used to live in Berkeley, California. There was
right.
no place for lawn, and they created these
Wow.
absolutely stunning rock gardens, and you can have all kinds of gorgeous green and lush scenarios, even
I
without
wish
perfect
everybody
grass.
got rid of their lawns here.
Yeah.
And I own a landscape company, so that's a big thing to say, but
I've heard that one thing that really speaks to people is their animals and their kids. So
yeah,
like I just remember being
yeah,
actually in California
yeah,
where somebody watched their neighbor putting Roundup all over everything and they were like, that that's really bad for your
yeah.
dog. And that's what
Oh, it's like, oh, my
started.
dog. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
like, oh, now
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
listening.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
know it is. It's
hey,
baby steps. And like I said, I try and introduce my clients, but I'm also not that rigid because this is a business. And
of
believe me,
course.
I go to meetings with people in the Horticultural Society that are like, well, you should just tell them they have to do this, this, and this. It's like, it's baby steps. If they're
Yeah.
willing to just put a portion, you know what I mean, of the property somewhere where we could have a small pollinator garden, even, putting in flower pots,
And
like
also, I don't
that
know if
gets me
it's
jazzed.
necessarily your job. Obviously, it's your
Yeah.
expertise, but it doesn't
Right.
mean it's your job. I'm waiting for some really horrifying documentaries to come out saying this is the pollution that's going into our water
They're
supply
here.
from, right? Like that's what's
Yeah.
going to do that job for you,
Well,
right?
here's another one that's beautiful, and it's a perfect thing about clients. As far as using gas operated leaf blowers and lawnmowers, my company personally, we don't use them. But okay, so lawn care produces 13 billion pounds of toxic pollutants a year. 1 hour of leaf blower use, gas powered, is the equivalent of driving 1,100 miles from LA to Denver.
What?
Fact. These are facts. So it's outstanding. So I had clients when I used to use, now everything is battery operated. And I was a little woke, for a while. But typical example, I had a client come out. She had just seen a documentary on the harm that the
Like what
pollution.
documentary? Do you know the names of
I
some?
don't, of
Okay.
course not. But it was about, it was shown everywhere, but it was about gas powered lawnmowers produce, the equivalent air pollution of 42 cars driven 2,000 miles a year. Like it's just insane statistics. And so she came out and she's like, Terry, I'm not comfortable with your guys using, leaf blowers. I just saw this documentary. And I said, yeah, I'd love to hear more about it. I said, I'm certainly, she's like, everything environment. And I was like, yeah, I'm with you, girl. And then I said, but it's going to cost double the money because we're going to have to hand rake everything. And then she was like, oh, okay, maybe not. So it's like these people that come out and scream, 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 you know, so then my
What
company,
about
we
electric
just
leaf
change everything.
blowers?
We do, they're fine. And I use those. That's all I
And
use
those
now.
are, I mean, I'm sure they're not perfect, but
Of course they are. No. We use them now, but again, now there's a 2-year wait list to get a battery because a lot of towns
oh,
are outlawing. You know, there are
the
towns
gas
all over
power.
Massachusetts right now that are like, you cannot use a gas-powered leaf blower.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that I converted years ago because I have everything now and I don't have to wait 2 to 3
You'll
years.
have to drive to,
Yeah.
I don't know, New Hampshire or something to get your
No, they're
battery.
all, yeah, they're being sold out every, no, there's like, even with the major corporations, there's backlogs.
Wow. Yeah, because I just got an electric lawnmower and an electric weed whacker, and it's like,
Nice.
yes, it's all I need.
Nice.
I have a tiny
Yeah.
yard, so but
Okay.
yeah.
Fabulous.
All right. So, what are some things? I mean, you've already started.
I think yeah, this is the end of my TED talk. I
What
think
are
I've
some
said it
things?
all.
I'm a home gardener that knows
Okay.
nothing, but I'm totally down with like, let me just try to do something good for the planet. What do
Okay.
you
You want
do?
my list of steps to home
No.
garden? That's what I usually give talks on is saving the planet one home at a time because it's overwhelming. It's like, of course, as a homeowner, you want to do your part, but you're like, where do I even start? So again, as mentioned, stop using chemicals in the landscape, stop buying plants loaded with pesticides at big box stores, buy native plants only, plant native, plant your plants to attract pollinators and feed wildlife, use pollinator plants, shrubs, and trees, provide a fresh water supply, plant milkweed. That is so important. Monarda, bee balm, everything we can plant for our monarch butterflies, and add a hummingbird feeder and fill with homemade nectar, sugar, and water. And if you can, turn a part of your lawn, even a very small part of your lawn, put some native trees, shrubs, anything native back there.
Okay, one thing I've heard about hummingbird feeders that we have to clean it every week and it has to be dry. Otherwise, it grows a certain kind of
Mold.
mold that can kill them. Is that true?
Okay. I don't know.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know. And another thing is what I like to do is I make all sorts of do-it-yourself organic pesticides. And here's my personal ingredient: 2 bulbs of garlic and 1 cup vegetable oil. Spray it directly on plants to repel the bad insects. And as a bad added bonus, it also, I believe, repels vampires. So if you have vampires in your neighborhood, I'm not sure where you live, but
Such a nuisance.
yeah, it is. Exactly.
Yes.
They're out at
Fabulous.
night.
So, okay, wow. I'm sort of alert to this stuff and I never heard about the nicotinoids or whatever the heck at
They're
big box
huge.
stores. The bleep.
Huge.
I mean, are we
Huge.
talking, okay,
Corporate greed.
obviously Home Depot is a no, Lowe's
Yes.
is a no, but what about, and Cane's is closing now, but Cane's is a big old place. What about them?
You know, anywhere that, I mean, they get their stuff shipped in, they're all loaded with, I'll tell you I call them nicks, but I'll tell you the exact word. It's nicotinoids.
Nicotinoids. Okay.
They're,
So where are people supposed to go? Like small garden?
Go local. Yeah.
Okay. So local nurseries.
Yes.
That's it.
Neonicotinoids. It's
Okay.
neonicotinoids. They're essentially all made up of nicotine. And there are studies that have been done that they are solely responsible for killing 50% of the bee population.
Wow.
Why isn't this illegal?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, this is like the stuff they used in the 70s. It's like, goodbye.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh, you're at the front line seeing all the
Yeah.
crap. I don't envy you, but at least we all need to know about it. So at least you're educating people.
Wake up. Yeah, no, exactly. One garden at a time, though, but we can do it. It's just little things you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned this on another interview that I did with Iris, who does
Oh, she's
herbs
awesome.
and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So we my parents have a lovely property down in Connecticut and they're in their 80s and I think they were a little bored and their neighbor had a tractor hired out. And so they decided to just clear cut the entire bottom of their lawn because they wanted to see down to the bottom of their lawn. And I just you know,
Yeah.
part of me just wanted to scream bloody murder,
Or
but they
kill
are
the
also
neighbor.
open
Yeah.
to, because they don't think about wildness. This is not in their consciousness
No,
at
it's not.
all.
And that's okay.
Ecosystems, it's
Right. They're
fine.
like, what?
But they're like, we want to plant a wildlife, like they want to have wildflowers.
Ooh, okay. That's good.
So, they took out all kinds of ecosystem, but at least they're not going to put perfect green lawn down there, to my knowledge.
Exactly. More turf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fairfield County.
Yes, of
Okay.
course.
Well, I noticed that we could talk later, on your phone. I just,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
I lived in Darien for the last.
Okay, yeah, they're in Wilton, so not
Oh,
too
love
far.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just hung up the phone this morning with one of my closest friends who lives in Wilton.
Yeah, here's the other thing that reminds me of. It's
Yeah.
going to be like the ladies of the DAR that get
Oh, yeah.
mortified, and they're like,
Yes,
you know what?
exactly.
We need to
Yep,
change. And they
exactly.
wage the
Let's
campaign,
get that American
right?
Revolution gals out there.
Yeah, they're not going to
Absolutely.
listen to people like
Yeah.
us.
No.
They're going to
No.
listen to people like, oh,
Yeah.
the proper way to do things.
Yeah.
is-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Exactly.
All right,
Cool.
my friend. Well, thank you.
Thank
I'm
you very
gonna,
much.
wind up the recording. We can
Yeah,
hang
cool.
on for a second, but
Yeah.
thank you so much for educating us on this stuff.
It was my pleasure. Thank you, Christina.